It's December and I just realised I don't have my reindeer clips in. And these make me just feel so Christmassy, so they are going in. Hello, it's Ruby, and today I am finally going to be sharing with you my ultimate stationery essentials guide. So this is a video that people have been asking me to do for years, but it's a very daunting task because if you're a study enthusiast like me, then you know that you need to make sure you include everything. If you're going to call it the ultimate studying essentials guide, then you need to plan this well. So I decided to film this on the run up to Christmas and upload this on the run up to Christmas because if you do enjoy studying and you like stationery, then this might give you some ideas of things to ask for Christmas, because I will be recommending specific products as well. Hopefully this video is in some way, not sure if you call that helpful, but hopefully it is in some way helpful. So the first thing is pens. My favourite pens are Lamy pens. These are fountain pens and you just refill your cartridges. I used to love Parker pens. Parker pens are my go-to, but Lamy pens are just nice to write with. And if you're going to get one, I recommend getting the medium nib. I have this one in the small nib, this is medium, and I much prefer medium. The next pens I always go to are the Pilot G-Tech C4 0.4 nib pens. These are just have a very fine nib and they're really nice to write with. When it comes to ballpoint pens, my favourite ones are the Kiki K slim ballpoint ones. They write quite smoothly.
I also forgot to mention these pens. So I love these black gel pens from Paper Chase. They retail for £4 and you get 5 of them in a pack, and I would also recommend the Lamy ink eraser.
And then the last pen I want to recommend to you is again from Kiki K. These are their rollerball pens, and it's just got it just writes really nicely. I believe this pen has actually run out now, and I don't think you can refill the cartridges, which is annoying because they're pretty expensive. Wait, can I? So I need to see if I can get a refill for this pen because it's a good pen. So this was kind of my special pen, so when I had something important I was writing, I would turn to this one, and it's just nice to have, you know, your nice pen. Next things next is pencils. The pencil I always go for is the Faber-Castell ones. I just really like the grips on these, and I also like to put the rubber ends at the end. These are usually better as well than the rubbers that you find at the ends of pencils, and you can change them up if they start to go hard. You know when rubbers start to go hard and then you can't rub them out anymore. On the topic of rubbers, my favourite, where is it, is the Statler one. It just rubs out really nicely. But for school, the one that I would recommend is the ones where you've got the rubber on one end and the sharpener at the other. They're just really handy and really compact, and that's the one I have in my pencil case at university. Highlighters are important, we all know, we love a good highlighter. My favourites are the Stabilo Boss pastel ones, and of course very favourites are the mild liners by Zebra. I've got all 4 packs. I'm sure you're familiar with mild liners already, but on one side you have a highlighter and on the other side you have a felt tip pen, and so they're really versatile. For this reason I don't think that colouring pens are an essential, so whenever I need to use colouring pens I will just use my mild liners. But because we want to be extra and I want to show you all of the best stationery, I'm also going to show you my favourite felt tip pens. My favourite pens are these ones. These are the Stabilo felt tips. These are really good, and I just keep them all in this little Ziploc bag.
The other felt tip pens that I would recommend are the Papermate Flares, and I only own 2 or 3 of these, but they are really, really good pens.
Again, I don't think colouring pencils are an essential, but if I were going to recommend any, I would recommend just normal Crayola ones. They're as good as you need them to be as a student, and they do colour nicely. So I have some Crayola ones, but the ones that I mainly use are these watercolour ones from WH Smith's, which I received as a birthday present for my 8th birthday. Watercolour pencils aren't an essential, but they can be quite nice for making your notes look nice. Also, one thing which I think is a good thing to have as a student is coloured writing pens. So I really love using just normal red biros. These are so good for marking. I don't like the green ones though. I just don't like the colour of green that they use. I use a red biro, and the other thing I rely on extensively are my Stabilo fine liners. I hugely recommend the Stabilo fine liners. These are honestly amazing. I would recommend getting one of the big packs. I don't have them with me, they're at university, but I have the pack of 20 or 15. I'm so glad that I have those. I use them all the time. But I also have this mini pack, which was again a gift, which is the one I keep at home. One other thing which I think is useful to have is a permanent marker of some kind. I have a coloured pack of Sharpie pens, which again I got as a gift. I don't use them that much at all, so I wouldn't recommend getting coloured permanent markers. I don't think they're necessary, but I think a black one is good to have, and I would really recommend the metallic set as well because it's so nice for titles. Next, notebooks. And the paper and notebooks that you personally would need as a student obviously will depend on whether you need to have your own exercise books, whether your school provides them, whether you're using folders. I'm just going to run through the things that I have found really good to have my whole way through school and at university. First of all, just A4 pads of plain paper. This here is my biggest recommendation for paper, which is white lines paper. So it's grey paper with white lines, and it's just less cluttered, so when you make notes it's easier, and then you can scan them and it removes the background, and then you have these really nice aesthetic notes which you can store digitally, which is really good for if you prefer to write handwritten notes but you don't want to lose them. Then I would also recommend a plain lined A4 pad, and I like to go for the Parker ones, and I would also recommend a square paper pad of some kind. I think I've got a Parker one of those as well. Then I think it's good as well to have a ruled A5 notebook, which is just your go-to notebook for anything. So I would use this for lists, for quick plans, etc. And it's just good to have an organisational jotty down notebook which you can use for school, writing little essay plans when you don't know where else to put them. Definitely having some sort of just plain notebook is good, and also having a square paper notebook if you do maths or science based subjects. So for chemistry and for maths at GCSE, I had one of these books for those subjects, and whenever I was doing practice questions I just write in these, and that would be where I did all my working and practice questions and things, and these were really good to have. I kept mine just on my desk, on the side by my desk, and I used it all the time. If you do a maths or science based subject, that is an essential, like a genuine essential. Then this is more a recommendation. I've been using this Harry Potter notebook for my lecture notes for 2 of my modules at university this year, and I love these notebooks. So if you want something to put on your Christmas list, this is what you should put on. I've actually asked for another notebook like this from my great auntie for Christmas, the advanced potion making one, but these are so lovely. These retail for £12.99 in Waterstones, but you can also buy them at the Harry Potter Studio Tour. The paper quality is just so nice. It's like... Next, on the topic of paper, I would recommend cardstock. I like to use it. I use this all the time. I like making little revision posters. For your good quality notes, sometimes this can be useful. For some reason, this is useful and I don't know why. If you like making a lot of mind maps, so for example when I did chemistry, I did like to have this. A3 paper can also be quite useful. Flashcards as well. I like the card ones, the plain white card ones, not with lines. I just don't get on with the lined flashcards. Let's do some miscellaneous. Bulldog clips. I use bulldog clips all the time. They're just such a handy way to clip things together, and the really good thing is it means that you don't have to staple it, which I sometimes find quite annoying if you want to add something else into that pack. Very handy, just paper clips. The other thing I really like are the Tipp-Ex mice. Okay, next essential is a ruler. I rely extensively on my 30cm ruler. This is a really nice one with a timeline of all of Shakespeare's plays on. It's also useful to have a foldable 30cm ruler, which is the one I keep in my pencil case. Next essential is scissors. These are just really handy to have, and I would also recommend a Pritt stick, but I think that that's less essential. First folder I would recommend are these popper wallets. I got this in Wilko's. They sell them for I think 50p a piece, and the cool thing about these is that you can just put them into your folder. I keep this one by my desk and I like to put printables in this. I've got quite a few of these timetables for a productive study day. I made these printables and I use them all the time.
So I completely forgot to show these folders, but I would also recommend the zippable folders. They're really useful to bring to lessons and just put things in, like spare sheets and things to organise later. Also, the display folders are really good for notes, revision notes. I would also recommend A5 popper wallets. I use these all the time, and also the A4 popper wallets.
It's kind of in the place of an in-out tray. I think it's good to have somewhere where you can just put stuff where you don't know where else to put, because you don't want to get distracted by it halfway through studying. You make a quick note of something while you're working, and you don't want that sitting on your desk and distracting you, so being able to put it in one of these folders and just keeping one by your desk is a really good idea. I'm not going to go into ring binders and folders and dividers and Polly Pockets, because I feel like that's just a given that you'll use them if you feel like you need to use them. Personally, I'm a big fan of Lever Arch folders, and my favourite ones were the ones that Staples sold, the plastic ones, because they were so durable and I can reuse them over and over again. Other thing, stapler and hole punch potentially. Hole punch if you are using a ring binder and you're not using Polly Pockets. So my stapler and hole punch, I got the Rapesco ones in light blue, and I would recommend. If you're at school, I'd also recommend a mini stapler. I brought a mini one to school and it was very useful. Okay, so the next thing, and this is a big one, is sticky notes. I'm a big sticky note person. If you watched my desk tour a couple years ago, you will see that I have a lot of sticky notes. My favourites are the just normal post-it note ones. I got this pack of blue ones, I'll put them on the screen. I got a pack of blue ones, I'd really recommend those. My favourite ones to use are the recycled yellow ones by Post-it Note. The good thing about Post-its is you can just, you know that the stick on them is going to be good, because when you buy unbranded sticky notes, sometimes they don't stick very well. Tesco has the best sticky notes. After Post-it, Tesco is the best. Slightly bigger sticky notes are good to have. I quite like these ones as well, the ones with the lines on. These are good for lists. Paper chase is sometimes good for sticky notes, but not always. Some of them have a really good stick, some of them don't have a very good stick. It just depends on the one you get. But regardless of that, I still do buy Post-it notes from Paper Chase because they are aesthetic and they do look nice. I also like to get some Post-it notes from Kiki K. So, for example, how cute are these? The Kiki K ones are pretty sticky, but because they're so sticky at the bottom, sometimes they tear when you take them off. Page markers are very useful for annotating books, and also I like to use these mini ones too. These ones are from Kiki K. Now, the last stationery essential which I'm going to recommend is actually the study planners that I sell on my website, and I don't want this to come across in the wrong way, but some of my stationery essentials are genuinely the things that I sell on Pumpkin Productivity, because with the study planner, for example, I designed this in line with how I wanted my ideal study planner to be. So this was designed basically with students directly in mind. I used to make daily study planners for myself every day after school, and I'd separate my page up and I'd, you know, make my to-do list, color code section, time started, reminders, etc. And I translated this into a study planner. This basically embodies the way that I like to plan study sessions and the way that I can recommend planning them. So honestly and truthfully, this is my #1 study essential. I know that sounds bad because it is my own product, but I rely on this so much and I use this all the time. I also do sell that in red. And the last stationery essential from Pumpkin Productivity is the master to-do list, which I like to use for my very intense productive days because I can really easily separate my tasks. And there are 52 sheets in every one of these pads, so the intention is that you could use it one a week. So I like to keep this by my desk. As things come up, I can just write them into the sections, which are work, education, chores, health, social, other, and then there's a note section too. I would also recommend the stress tracker, but that's actually not so much for studying essential. Okay, so now we're on to optional. So these are things which I would recommend, but I wouldn't say that they're so much of an essential for studying. Obviously none of these are essentials, but for me these are the things that I would say are less necessary. So #1, I love a good washi tape. I have a lot, as you can see. Favorite ones, if I had to choose my very favorites, I got this pack of nature scenes on Amazon. I also love this one from Hobbycraft. I've got some star ones which I like, but I really do like to buy them from independent sellers on Etsy because they are usually very pretty. I think I have 3 or 4 from independent sellers, but they are a bit more expensive. Next, just because it's fun, I need to include this. A feather quill or dipping pen and ink and parchment as well. I just really enjoy using this when I might use this for titles, when I'm writing notes, and just using dipping pen and ink and parchment paper. It's just fun. I also have a C pen which could potentially be quite useful for you. When I was in year 11, I found my C pen really helpful. So basically you can scan notes and from a textbook, and then it will scan it onto your computer screen. So this was really useful when I was writing up textbook notes, because I just scan the whole page and then I'd go through and I'd edit it and put it in my own words. It was quite useful, but I wouldn't say it's an essential, and I definitely didn't use it as much as I thought I would end up using it. If you use a hole punch, I think hole punch protectors stickers are very useful. Coloured circle stickers are quite useful for colour coding your notes, so I put these on my Polly Pockets to show which subject that note was for. Next thing is a USB stick. The only reason I don't say that this is an essential is because you could use Google Drive. If you are going to get a memory stick, I would recommend Paperchase because they have the cutest ones. The other thing which can be quite nice to have, I do like using my brush pens for titles. I have the ones from Stationery Island, and I've also got 3 Tombow ones.
And then here are just 3 last products that I completely forgot to mention. So I really love my Moleskine. It's just a really good organisation planner to use. I also would recommend the Marauder's Map to-do list from Harry Potter. It's just really aesthetic. And lastly, a whiteboard, which is a huge essential, and I can't believe I missed it.
So yes, there we go. They are my stationery essentials. I hope that you found this video helpful. I think it's very long. And let me know if you'd like to see a studying essentials guide as well. So things like websites and apps and technology. So let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you're having a lovely December so far. So thank you again for watching, and I hope that you have a productive week.